Welcome to Southern Conference football. One of the most historic in the entire country.
It's a conference of champions.
Intense rivalries.
Heart-pounding action.
And unforgettable traditions.
Now it's time for SoCon Football 2024.
It's time for screaming fans and blasting bands.
It's time for all this hard work to take the field.
It's time for SoCon Saturdays.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 2024 Ingles SoCon Kickoff Show. I'm Chris Bainbridge alongside the voice of the SoCon, Pete Yanity, and for the next 30 minutes we're taking you on a tour of the Southern Conference and getting you ready for some great football action.
And we're at the home of the reigning Southern Conference champion, Furman Paladins, at Paladin Stadium. They had some exciting moments a year ago on their way to a run that saw them get all the way to the quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs. Furman was one of 3 Southern Conference teams to make postseason play among the field of 24. Chattanooga and Mercer also made it out of the Southern Conference. So here we are in 2024, getting ready for what should be an exciting run in conference play. The Paladins, the Mocs, and others gearing up for what's ahead.
All right, so in this show, we're going to take a look at each school in the conference. We'll hear from the coaches and the commissioner, and we'll learn some fun and interesting stories to follow as we get ready for another exciting season of SoCon football. First up, it's a tale of 2 institutions with a rivalry that goes well beyond football. What's become known as the Military Classic of the South pits the Bulldogs of the Citadel against the Keydets of Virginia Military Institute. Bulldogs head coach Maurice Drayton played in this rivalry. So did VMI Athletics Director Jamal Walton. We caught up with both of them at SoCon Media Day to talk about the rivalry and what makes it so important for these 2 historic institutions.
There is a projectile that's pointed directly to Lexington, Virginia, where the campus of VMI sits.
Beat Citadel. That's the word you hear. I'm sure on their side is beat VMI, but that week, it's intense, it's prideful. It's one of those games, you know, when you get on that bus, you got to buckle your chin strap a little tighter that game. They're going to give their best effort.
You know, the Military Classic of the South brings together our 2 military institutions to compete. They take it incredibly seriously. The pride that goes into the performance in those institutions, the pride that goes into the sacrifices that the cadets make at those institutions is really, really special and unique within our conference. And the chance that those institutions have to get on the field to play, represent their, their fellow classmates, is just an incredible opportunity, and one that they really, really cherish on an annual basis.
A lot of people don't think it's a big game, but to us, it's a big game. Whether you're 10-0 on both sides or 0-10 on both sides, you're looking forward to it.
The Silver Shako. The Silver Shako is a replica of a Shako, which is a headdress that we wear for parades and things of that nature. You want to make sure you have that in your trophy case. You want to walk by that on a daily basis. There is a shared respect because there's a shared bond. Both schools live a military lifestyle. Both schools are leadership laboratories. Both schools produce men and women who are leaders in our great country, our great nation. And because we understand what each other goes through, it makes it that much more special.
When you think about the United States of America and the military and what the military has done to keep us safe and keep our freedom where it is, and knowing that some of our brotherettes or some of the alums from both sides are defending our country, it's bigger than football. You know, it's about being a great American and being a great person. So even if I see somebody from the Citadel, I'll really just want to ask them how they're doing and what their experience was like, because there are some things that just tie in together, but it's really special because going to these schools is a little bit more of a prideful thing, and it's a little bit more of a connection that most schools don't have, because it's a unique school. You go through a lot of challenges, but I think at the end of the day it makes you a better person.
Your military rival for your average cadet who's not necessarily engaged in football becomes engaged that week, because they know they will have bragging rights for the rest of their lives, because they're going to have to serve with these individuals. So it makes it fun for everyone.
Now this year, the battle for the Silver Shako takes place in Lexington, Virginia on Saturday, October 19th. The VMI Keydets will play host to their arch rival, the Citadel Bulldogs. When we talked with the head coaches, it was about more than just the rivalry, as we hear from the Citadel's Maurice Drayton and VMI's Danny Rocco ahead of this 24 season.
Well, our basic mindset has been we're going to constantly and continually improve. And I feel like as we head into our second year, our culture's a little more established. Our playbook is a little more established and understood. And I'm looking forward to kind of taking that next step forward as we head into this season. So we're going to be very multiple with what we do. Offensively, we're going to be very multiple with our personnel groupings, our formations, our style of attack. And then defensively, very much the same. We're going to be very multiple with what we're doing. The configuration of our personnel, the structures of our defense, the personnel that we're playing with. And we really don't want people to kind of get a beat on us and kind of say, oh, this is who these guys are. We got these guys figured out. We really want to be that team that's hard to figure out.
Year one was all about the culture. Year two will be more of detailing our work, detailing and consistency of what we've implemented, building upon the X's and O's, building upon the schemes that we utilized in year one. We're building a program, not a season. Today's athletics and most human beings want to build a season. We're in a microwave society. But for us, especially in our environment, we want to build a program where we can be self-sustaining at the level that we want to be, which is at the top of the Southern Conference.
So where do these two schools look to finish this season? Well, the preseason polls came out about a month ago, and here's what we're looking at. Based on how the coaches voted, Chattanooga sits at number 1, followed by Furman at 2, Western Carolina 3, and Mercer at 4. Then it goes Samford, ETSU, and VMI, followed by Wofford and the Citadel. All right, so Pete, UTC came out with the top spot in the preseason prediction game. Why are the Mocs picked to win the conference?
And you look at the fact that they lost to Lim Ford and Gino Appleberry out of their backfield offensively, but their return quarterback Chase Artopius. They've got some young running backs who saw some action last year. Sam Phillips and Jabin Watley, two of the better receivers in the conference. 3 starting offensive linemen come back. And then you look at the defensive side. Jay Person was as good as anybody to play D for Chattanooga over the last decade. He's moved on, but Marlon Taylor up front is the preseason Defensive Player of the Year in the Southern Conference, and they've got a lot of experience coming back to their secondary.
All right, well, we caught up with head coach Rusty Wright, and here's what he had to say about his Mocs.
Well, I mean, we had a good finish to last year, even though we lost the last one in the playoffs. But I think what it's done is you've seen the growth of football in Chattanooga the last 2 or 3 years. And that's the thing, as we talk all the time, is you have to continue to grow or you're not going anywhere or getting any better. They see that we have an opportunity to be a good football team. I think that's what's propelled this group into wanting to be a good football team this year. The biggest thing was we finished 6-2 in the league, finished second in the league, and gave ourselves an opportunity to get into the playoffs that way. Went on the road in the first round, played Austin Peay in Clarksville, Tennessee, and beat them. And then had the fortunate or unfortunate circumstance of coming back here to Greenville and playing Furman again in the second round. So for the second time in about a month, we played them, and didn't manage to get that done. But I think that was the turning point for us, was understanding that, hey, we can go do these things. These things can be done here at Chattanooga. And I think that's what our guys this year are excited about.
So the Mocs are picked in the top spot, just up the line in the state of Tennessee. You've got the ETSU Bucks, a second head coach in the past 3 years for ETSU as Trey Lamb moves in from Gardner-Webb, where he won a conference championship a year ago, and he'll now guide a team in the same conference as Uncle Bobby did at Mercer just a few years ago. ETSU is a transfer quarterback from Charlotte. They've got some experience returning in other areas, and let's take a look at the Bucks under a new head coach.
Yeah, I'm a new head football coach at East Tennessee State. Came from Gardner-Webb the last 3 seasons. From Calhoun, Georgia, bounced around FCS. You know, my uncle coached in this league for a long time at Furman and Mercer. Very familiar with the Southern Conference. Grew up watching it. It's a dream to be a head coach in this league, and I'm not going to take that lightly, and I'm excited to be here. But we're going to continue to stay aggressive. You know, stay aggressive in acquiring talent. I think in this day and age, and all of us are great coaches. Everyone that's sat here is a great coach. It's going to be about the coach that gets the most talent, keeps the most talent, and gets that talent playing the right way. So acquiring talent aggressively is kind of our mindset right now. In year 1, we're trying to get as many good players as possible on our roster and get good coaches too. I think you acquire talent as a coaching staff just like you do with players.
There's another new coach in the SoCon this season, and it's where Trey Lamb spent some time down in Macon. The Mercer Bears had to make a change in the offseason after Drew Cronick moved on to Navy after a playoff campaign last year to cap off a really great run at Mercer. This year, the Bears are hoping for similar results under new head coach Mike Jacobs.
I think we have a mature football team, right? So often when there's a head coaching change at this level or there's an opportunity that's presented, it's because something's wrong or needs fixed. And that's not the case, right? We're a team that made the second round of the playoffs last year at the FCS level. And so being able to take over a team that's got a veteran defense that knows how to win football games in a really tough conference and then really transition and put our own spin on what we do offensively has me really excited. I like the way our kids work. We have extremely high level of work ethic and attention to detail. We haven't had to spend as much time on some of those things because we were doing a lot of them the right way. And you know, that's a testament to Coach Cronick and the foundation that he had built at Mercer coming into it.
As we mentioned, Mercer football has been on an upward trajectory for several seasons now. But every Saturday, there are 2 teams that take the field for the Bears. Both endure grueling practices, weight training, and the spirit of competition. Spirit is the key word for this crew. We're taking a look at what it takes to be a Mercer cheerleader. And after this, we'll be back with some tips and tricks for your tailgate with our friends from Ingles Markets.
I kind of see cheer as my outlet. Cheer is where I go relax and breathe. If school is stressing you out, smile, have fun, you move around. Like that's your relaxing, because that's your outlet. Like that's where you get time to breathe, take a mental break, and just do what you know how to do.
Getting like the adrenaline, even for comp, like getting adrenaline rushes and like feeling really excited like on game days, either whether it be football or basketball, or even like taking the mat, like just having the adrenaline rush and like being with your team.
When you get to the college level, everything is blended. You got to be an incredible game day cheerleader, especially at a D1 college. I mean, SoCon, we get put on ESPN from time to time too. They got to be able to look the part, they got to be able to do all the things, and they have to be available for events. That's another thing that people don't think about. Like, it's not just the games for them. We got to do any event that the university wants.
I think people really don't realize how much work we actually put in. Events, practices, workouts, really just anything that they need us to do, but then you're also balancing that with a lot of school stuff. Typically, like I'll wake up around like 5:30. I have to get my workouts done in the morning, but then I also have to be at my field placement hours, and then after that do some homework and then go straight to practice. Typically, we don't get home from practice until 8, 9 o'clock. I mean, it's basically time to sleep at that point.
We also focus a lot on our mental health. Everybody would say we get mental blocks when we're young, to the point it's kind of hard to do like any tumbling passes and stuff like that. Like you kind of get like mentally stuck. Mentally, cheer can be a rough sport. You just have to take it day by day, step by step.
I feel like cheerleaders sometimes come like with a bad rep. People don't think of them as like full-blown athletes, and it's a lot of work and pressure, and you have to be fit, you have to have good stamina, be strong.
There's a lot that goes into it from a time standpoint. And then when it comes to the athletic standpoint, that's another thing people don't think about. I think people are getting more used to it now that it's kind of becoming a thing, like, okay, cheer is now cleared for the Olympics, so that's a pretty cool piece. We're not there yet, we're not in it yet, but hey, we're cleared for it. So people are kind of realizing that it is a sport, and it is very hard. I did every sport growing up, and then when I started doing cheerleading, I realized what it took, from an athletic standpoint. You got to be flexible, you got to be strong, you got to be in great shape, because when you compete, it's the hardest 2.5 minutes of your life. Everything has to come together.
Sometimes it can be really just discouraging when people are like, well, you guys aren't a real sport. You guys don't put in as much work, because we do put in a lot of work that people don't realize and people don't see. My favorite part of cheerleading is performing, and I love making the crowd feel happy, because I know I find a lot of joy in it. It's cool to see that other people have that same outlook.
All right, folks, well, it's football season, and we all know what that means. It means it's time for eating way too much food in a hot parking lot with all of your friends. Of course, it is tailgate season, and who better to walk us through the Ingles tailgate than Ingles Table All-Star Jasmine Queen. So, Jasmine, what do we have here today?
So I'm so happy to share all of this stuff that I picked up at Ingles. It looks like I spent hours. I didn't. I just walked in, picked it up, and here it is, right?
All right.
So we'll start with the in-store made guacamole, pico, and chips. Amazing. You can't have a tailgate spread without that.
It's so good. Fresh every day. You can't beat it.
You can't. Rotisserie chicken salad. Again,
those are delicious.
Fresh. Put it on a croissant. Yeah, so again, can't have a tailgate without that.
Yes.
A little charcuterie football helmet.
I mean, right? It's in the shape of a football.
Right.
It's meat and cheese in a football. What else can you want?
You can't do anything else, but I just picked up olives from the olive bar, meat from the deli, and then put the cheese on here. So Ingles has just a world shop of cheese, right?
A whole world of cheese.
A whole world of
at
cheese.
Your local Ingles.
Yeah, and they actually slice it and package it stateside.
Fantastic.
So it's fresh cheese. The deviled eggs, Ingles already made those. I just put some chives on there to make them look like cute little footballs.
They are cute little footballs, and they're delicious.
They are delicious, yes. And then, of course, a veggie and fruit tray if you want to feel a little healthy.
That's what I always want to do at a tailgate, is feel very healthy, right? Maybe
Just stick it in some dip and you won't feel so healthy.
There you go.
Okay, and then we have just the chicken tenders. Of course, if you have kids there, picky eaters that don't really like the spicy food.
Well, you can grab and go. You have
right.
a beanbag in one hand and a chicken finger in the other hand.
That's
or maybe a craft beverage that you picked up at your local Ingles.
Right. And then, I just picked up some of the sauced chicken nuggets here, and they have so many different flavors.
You need a little spice in life, right?
Just a little spice, right? And then I think you can't have a tailgate without dessert.
Oh, gosh.
That's my favorite.
Another thing that you can just pop and pop and pop are the cookies.
And just not stop with the cookies.
Again, made fresh. So we got fresh cookies, fresh chips and guac and pico, fresh chicken salad sandwiches, fresh. I sense a theme here.
Yeah, I mean, everything is fresh, and like I said, it looks like I took hours. It took me 10 minutes to go in and pick this stuff up.
So fresh and easy.
Fresh and easy, that's the way we like it.
Awesome, Jasmine, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Pete, back to you.
Thanks, Chris and Jasmine. That really looks and smells good. Well, the Sanford Bulldogs won a league title 2 years ago. Last season, a 6-5 finish and a 4-4 Southern Conference record. Had a chance to catch up with head coach Chris Hatcher on what his Bulldogs look like going into this season.
Momentum is a funny thing in football games. Last season we had such a horrendous start, but we finished on a high note, beating the 10th ranked team in the country in UT Martin. So it's always a lot easier going into the off season after a big win. There's a lot of unknowns due to attrition from your team, transfer portal. We're going to have a lot of new faces. There's going to be a lot of question marks, but I do like the camaraderie of our team, the makeup. They seem to get along and like each other, which is always key to having a good football team, especially when you have so many new players coming together. We're excited about it. I think the biggest question that we have is who's going to be our quarterback. We got to replace Michael Hires, who was a tremendous player for us. But I think right now that's the biggest question mark we have on our football team.
For our next story, we're taking a trip up to Cullowhee, North Carolina, and the campus of Western Carolina University, where the Catamounts are ready to run out onto the field for that home opener. And they won't be alone. For years, the famous freshman run has been a treasured tradition to start the football season. And this year, it's happening on the 50th anniversary of E.J. Whitmire Stadium.
this time of the year is just really great. As they're coming in and you see them walking across campus, and on Friday, they start in the Ramsey Center for convocation, and 4 years later, they graduate in the Ramsey Center, graduating with a degree from Western Carolina University. So it's an amazing time during this time of year.
Being out in the atmosphere at a Western Carolina football game and to see it on the field, and you're looking at a packed stadium, there's hundreds of freshmen behind you, the band's lined up, like the chancellor's waving the flag at the end zone. It's a one-of-a-kind experience, but then it happens in the blink of an eye. Like, I feel like the run probably lasted like 15 seconds, maybe less, but it's the best 15 seconds of my life.
I think the best word is electric. I think, everywhere you go, you just feel it and sense it. Even leading up to that whole week, our fans get here early. They tailgate, hang out with friends and family before the game, and there's just a vibe and a buzz in the air, but it truly is electric here, and there's just a lot of camaraderie and a lot of people just really excited that football is here and back in Cullowhee.
I think students love the freshman run so much because it's a tradition, right? And so ultimately traditions are probably your best community builders. Like there's this sense of like, this experience is for me, this one time, and I may never ever be able to be on the football field again with thousands of people cheering and watching. So it's like this electric atmosphere. So again, I think traditions are ultimately some of your best ways to build community, and community is what it's all about.
I feel like Cullowhee and Western Carolina is one of the best places in the SoCon as far as game day experiences. They're jacked, they're excited. A lot of freshmen, it's their first time, first game for sure. I think it's just a great tradition to see them come out and sort of field the whole field. It's something that I enjoy doing every year.
I'm in front and I'm waving a big flag at them, and they start running toward the end of the field, and all 2,000 freshmen are all running in one way, and it's just the most exciting time. They're running, they're screaming, they're having a great time. They get to the end and they're part of the freshman run. That's what's so exciting about it, and see them at the end, and just so excited to be taking part of something that is a great tradition here at Western Carolina University.
It's truly a special place. Like, you come here, you love it. I never thought that I would graduate here and then take on my first full-time job here. Western has truly become a home. I've met my best friends, people that I will talk to for the rest of my life, lifelong friends, great mentors, like just everything. Like, I owe Western the world.
Things have gotten really exciting in Cullowhee since Kerwin Bell arrived at Western Carolina just a few years ago. His Catamounts, who challenged for the SoCon crown a year ago, are picked third in the preseason poll, and their quarterback, Cole Gonzalez, is the preseason Offensive Player of the Year. We visit with Western's head coach, Kerwin Bell.
I like my football team. Yeah, our quarterback's Cole Gonzalez, a true junior, who's got 2 years left. Well, he was named the preseason SoCon Player of the Year, and he won it as a sophomore last year. The big thing for him going into the offseason, I said, hey, you still need to, there's a lot of improvements in your game, and we got to make sure we address those, make sure we get better this offseason. He took that and really ran with it. I thought he had a great spring ball, got bigger in the weight room, bigger, stronger, faster. And so I look for him to have a bigger year than he did last year. That's what I expect from him. I tell people I go to bed at night as a head coach. A lot of head coaches do this. If you got a great offensive line, which I think we will, a great defensive line, and then you got a quarterback that's an all-star that can win big games for you, then you can sleep well at night. And I think we have that.
Our final story of the show features last year's SoCon champ and the only team to defeat them in conference. The Furman-Wofford rivalry is literally one of the oldest in college sports, with the two teams squaring off for the first time in 1889. It's known as the I-85 rivalry, for the two schools separated by just 45 minutes of drive time on a road that didn't exist when they started playing. Heck, cars didn't exist when they started playing, and today it continues to be one of the hidden gems of college rivalries.
Interstate 85 stretches 666 miles, a devil of a distance, from Montgomery, Alabama all the way to Petersburg, Virginia, near Richmond. Along the way, it connects major cities like Atlanta and Charlotte. And about halfway through its journey through SoCon country, it runs the 18 miles that separate the upstate towns of Greenville and Spartanburg, South Carolina, the respective homes of the Furman Paladins and the Wofford Terriers. The two schools have been rivals in practically everything since their founding in the mid-1800s, from basketball to SAT scores, and their football rivalry is among the top 10 oldest in the nation, first meeting on December 14, 1889. Today they are among the smallest schools by enrollment to play Division I sports, with student bodies of 2,200 undergrads at Furman and 1,800 at Wofford, which belies the big-time success that both schools have had on the national stage of college football. In the last decade, each program has won at least a share of the SoCon title 3 times, going on to defeat other playoff schools 10 times their size or more. Furman leads the all-time series 56-34 with 7 ties. In their last 10 meetings, their regular season matchups are tied at 5 apiece. Wofford claimed the W in a playoff matchup in 2017. But you can throw the records out the window when these two teams take the field on Saturdays. Even in a down 2023, the Terriers rejoiced in ruining Furman's perfect SoCon run by playing spoiler in the final game of the season.
The two schools are so similar in philosophies and so close. I mean, we're literally 45 minutes away from each other. And over the years, it's been one of the storied rivalries really in all of college football.
Two really similar institutions. I think probably as similar as any in our league, and certainly have a lot of respect for them and the job that's been done there over time, and certainly have had some great games with them.
Paladins and Terriers, two uncommon mascots for two uncommon programs, with a common dislike for one another. From the chants of Hooford ringing through Paladin Stadium to the sweetly insulting screams of purple pansies echoing off the walls of Gibbs, it's a rivalry primed for another matchup in the 2024 installment of Furman and Wofford, as the Terriers and the black and gold faithful pile into their buses and cars and make that drive via I-85 to Furman University that leads to the latest edition of a great college football rivalry.
Well, Furman and Wofford have campuses that are separated by about 25 miles. At this point, their football programs are significantly further apart than that. Paladins, of course, coming off a SoCon crown. Wofford picking up 2 wins at the end of last season, including an upset of Furman to finish 2-9. Let's hear from Clay Hendricks, Furman's head coach, and Sean Watson of the Terriers.
Well, it was a fun year. I think anytime you have success, certainly that helps. Time of college football now with lots of kids with extra years. You know, our retention, I think, has been as good as anybody at any level of college football. So we had so many older guys. Really good run. Had a chance to go out and play a really good Montana team in an unbelievable environment. You're really proud of the group of kids we had, and kids that truly value our place and the education, the people they get to be around, and they like playing football. It really was a special year, and so you enjoyed that. You'd like to try to line up and see if you can do it again.
We've had a chance, we've had a full recruiting cycle now that, the kids that we just recruited, the entire class, both recruiting periods are ours. I started recruiting my roster at the very beginning. I went out and recruited, our guys that could come back. Now moving forward, it's continuing what we've started. We had a totally different spring practice. I felt like I had an entirely different team in terms of, I think everybody, one, understood our philosophy. 2, there was a buy-in. 3, we had new bodies in there that were part of transitioning us, which you always have to continue to add to your team. We're moving it forward. Now we just, we have to continue to do the hard work it takes, and we have to stay, locked in on the process.
Last year, the Southern Conference put 3 schools in the FCS playoffs. This season, who knows?
Well, 3 are ranked in the top 25 in the preseason national polls. Wouldn't be stunned if we maybe see 4 Southern Conference teams in.
Oh man, that'd be fun. All right, so we want to give a big shout out and thank you to all of our SoCon schools, the people at the Southern Conference Ingles markets, and you for watching.
And for Chris Bainbridge, Pete Hannity saying so long. We'll see you throughout the fall on Ingles SoCon Football.